18th day, 10 hours, what's that, 8 minutes, and 15 seconds away from the year 2000 for Bobby Lee in the Bobby Lee studio. It's the studio.
Yeah.
What you got going on here?
Start calling me Bobby Lee. It's Bobby Hemmitt, the hitman.
Alright, well, we're here with the hitman in the study, his personal study.
Yeah.
From 418 days from the year 2000.
All right.
What's up, Bobby?
All right, what's up? Yeah, well, I'm back online in Atlanta. Haven't done anything in Atlanta since June. And what we're doing here today is a free lecture celebration of the 418 days before the year 2000. Before the year 2000, either on the white man's calendar, the year 2000. Still in 418 days. Which is very key that we understand now, is what you just pointed out, that obviously it has to be something that's dealing with this at this particular time. Because a series of events that happened over the last 3 days coincides with the 418th day. Now, if I'm not mistaken, John Glenn and them came down this morning. If I'm not mistaken. Because this is Sunday, November what?
November 8th.
November 8th. And if I'm not mistaken, John Glenn and them just came back. You see what I'm saying? Now, before John Glenn is up in the actual air, certain things happen on Friday. Number one, if you understand anything about cycles, and even in your Christian Bible, which is taken from Osirian drama, Osiris died on a Friday and arose again on the third day, which the plagiarized version of so-called Jesus Christ died on a Friday, Jesus, let's put it that way, because the Christ is something totally different, died on a Friday and rose on the third day, let you know that in actuality that there has to be something symbolic to that, because we can trace it back to ancient Kemet. You see what I'm saying? And in so many mythology, we throw out what we don't need, and we keep which is authentic, and basically what is authentic is what can coincide with different other cultures, not just the so-called Judeo-Christian culture. But if we find things around the earth that's the same in every culture, then we know that that is the most authentic, on a synchronicity basis, as well as a world basis, is based on things traveling to different countries, based on migration. So now going back to this Friday, as the Art Bell show said, and I'm quite sure that we need to deal with that, because Art Bell basically is government. So Art Bell said that 12 o'clock Thursday night, which would have been what? Give me the date on that. Thursday would have been Friday.
Let's see what's 4? Is that the 4th?
It's the 5th, because I paid damn rent.
Okay.
That's how I know. So I don't know, but 2 days, rent day, birthday, you understand what I'm saying, and a couple other things and shit. But my point is I paid rent on that damn shit so he could even be here talking to you. You see what I'm saying? And so on Thursday night at 12 o'clock, so-called, either Bill Clinton is supposed to have signed into order this physical form of martial law, which we know we've literally been under martial law for the last damn 8 years. Basically, anytime most of your rights have been taken away, you see what I'm saying? Even to the point where you get locked up for driving without a seatbelt. Well, it's your right to kill your motherfucking self in your car, but you don't need nobody dealing, fucking with you based on a seatbelt. Because we always know, even though the law made perfect sense to pass, we understand that the law enforcement always uses something that was put in for protection. They always use that particular thing as a form of totalitarianism, tyranny, and tyrannical type oppression based on using the laws and stuff. You know what I'm saying? To do other shit. But my point is, on Friday, Thursday night, 12 o'clock, going into Friday, Clinton supposedly had signed this executive order into action based on physical martial law. Now, we don't even know if it might even get to that. It might very well can, but it might not. But my point is, just someplace in the future, in case in the future something immediately breaks out, they have already passed something into law saying that in actuality that it won't even be the particular point, whereas they got to go and have a Congress Act and all this type of shit just to even have it already out there that should we impose martial law. They already imposed it, although they haven't imposed it physically, it's already on the books. You get where I'm coming from? So now, on the other hand, around 12 o'clock the next day, so 12 hours later, would that be 12 hours later? 12 o'clock, midnight to 12 o'clock that morning.
Right.
That would be 12 hours later. The movie Siege opened around the country. Siege with Denzel Washington and Bruce Willis and Annette Bening. Now, this is on the Friday. Now, this is the same Friday before the day that we're sitting here on the 418 day, which we'll get into a little bit of 418 mystery in a few minutes on the frequency. Since we're in the book room, we got all the ammunition back here with us and stuff. Number one, this is one of the best occult libraries on the East Coast when it comes to black people. Now, it may not look like much, and I'm not tooting my horn and bragging and all this kind of thing here, but the quality of what is in the occult library is the greatest. It means that I had 8 times more books, but I deleted all the bullshit because the New Age gives you a whole lot of bullshit, you know, a whole lot of junk. And so you might have one book that might have something in it. The New Age movement based on money and the X-Files is popular now. They might take one book and make 3 other books saying the same damn shit. Only thing you need is the actual primary source. That's what Dr. Ben talked about a lot. So these are the primary source. This is the primary source of the actual particular stuff. So we basically have it all covered based on, I don't have to literally go out and look for something. All I do is go into the library. There's books in here that I haven't even cracked yet as far as reading. But my point is, based on that, because we have that now, we can also document some things as we go on. But anyway, and we always do that based on the scholarship, because on the other hand, which means even if you are dealing with a subject that doesn't even need scholarship, you give the motherfucker the book list anyway. That way, the government don't use you and put you on TV and able to manipulate you for the simple fact that you're using the book list. They don't want American public to go and get the shit and read and wake people up. So it's another thing to believe what I say. That's one thing. But then again, the government, based on Terrence assassination, can literally wipe that out. They can have me looking like damn Hitler in a matter of seconds. But just suppose I gave bibliography and some person out here said, I'm going to check out the information for myself. And they notice a pattern based on the books and the bibliography. Because one thing about bibliography and books, one book leads to another book based on if you read the footnotes of bibliography. So therefore, it is the government's plan never to put anybody dealing with a scholarly level on TV, or either attack people dealing with a scholarly level, in which that person has to come out and defend themselves using scholarship. So they stay away from people who know what the hell they're talking about. They tried to do it once with Leonard Jeffries, because Leonard Jeffries at this particular time when they attacked him in 1991 was the only one who hadn't written a book. But they made the mistake because Leonard Jeffries was truly a scholar, and when he went on Donahue, he beat him up with the ammunition. And so Donahue, at the end of the show, was like, he couldn't hardly deal with anything and all. And since that day, they say, we'll never ever put anybody, black or white, that can come in and can wake up people's minds with particular scholarship. Now, going back to the science on what we're dealing with here, we're dealing with this 418 day, and we'll explain that in a few minutes. But we understand based on the reason why they say Jesus, or so-called Jesus, but Osiris died on a Friday and was resurrected on a Sunday. Also, you even have that in the Horus myth, also documenting that is these 2 volume books here, Gerald Mance's Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. The whole Horus myth based on dying on that whole 3-day resurrection. Which, the number 3 has a lot of alchemical, spiritual, and mythological, and historical significance to it, as well as 7, 9, and all numbers are infinite. But going back to this particular information, the 3 days mean a 3-day cycle. So if one thing starts to fall on that third day, which is the culmination, which is the 418th day before, 418th day before the year 2000, that means that it had to have some type of ritual 3 days leading up, and that completes the whole cycle. So when the Dogon did their particular Siggy ceremony on a Saturday of July 23rd, 1994, I was hurt that I couldn't be in Africa at the time, but we had our Siggy ceremony at Florence Jackson Academy on that Monday, which was the third day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which was the third day, and so it actually completed the 3-day cycle. They had a particular celebration in Africa. We had one on the ends of the earth, America, but on that same day, on Friday, the same day that they was doing their Siggy ceremony, the Freaknik happened. And ever since then, they caught the scrutiny. Now, going back to this 3-day cycle in the 418, let's recap what happened at this particular time. Well, coming to these 3 days, we know that in actuality you had this particular Hurricane Mitch or whatever the deal is. So somebody need to go and get the book dictionary and look up this name and look up anything that has the word either, was it Mitch or Mitch? Find out what it is. I think it's Mitch or Mitch. And find out any word in the dictionary, especially I think the name of it is this is a very good dictionary. I think it's called the New Testament, the New Thesaurus, and that's Rogets. I think that's Rogets. Is it R-E-G-E-T-S? That's Rogets. Or Rogets, or Rogets, or Rogets. I don't know, you know. New Testament. You see what I'm saying? And try to look up any word that has that word while they name things. And try to look up any word that has, in Mitch, could be a name, but any word that has something similar to it, and you can understand what's going on. But anyway, we do know that the hurricane killed 11,000 people. In where? What was that? What was that where it killed them at? I got my mind on something else that I'm dealing with, and I got to go back and recap this particular thing. What was the shit with, was it, wasn't El Salvador, it was, can't think of the name of it right now, that they killed all those particular people. Oh, anyway, in Latin America, in so many words, they killed 11,000 people. Now, what happened was when it got to Florida, it only killed 5 people. Now, why is that? Well, 2 things is happening. One, and the reason why we hadn't had any major devastation is because of the simple fact that black people in this particular America and indigenous people, but although we have black people in all of Latin America and all the Caribbeans and in Africa and different things in the whole diaspora, the particular ones here are the ones who have the knowledge. That's just the way it is. You see, you don't produce that many Diops in Africa, because the only one that has come close is mainly the black people here in America, mostly on the East Coast, scattered all the way out onto the West Coast, which you have a great deal on the West Coast, but as far as the conscious level is a lot lower than it is in the East Coast, but the East Coast is dwindling down to the few adepts, separating the damn chumps from the monks. But anyway, so basically this chrysalis of intellectual knowledge based on the Afrocentric movement with the Egyptology and Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, on into what is called your metaphysical movement that birthed out of that with me, Brother Reverend Valentine, Brother Delbert Blair, Brother Dawood that was on the scene a few years ago, as well as a few other people. The realm of the energy, because it's ancestor energy coming from the middle passage that's causing this havoc, is protecting the people that's doing the work. So the reason why some of the brothers and sisters get killed in the Caribbeans and all that kind of stuff, they ain't doing shit. You see what I'm saying? And I reiterate that now because we're being looked down on all across the land with our own damn people now. But yet we're the ones that's doing the doggone spiritual work, because ain't nobody on this particular realm that we're dealing with but the ones here in America. And that's just the way it is. And you know. But then again, on the other hand, we're not separating ourselves from the brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Every place has to have a head. For the mere fact that we are doing it, they don't have to do it. But they need to start benefiting from this thing, which we'll get into on another date when we have this particular lecture on the 20th of this particular month, November. But anyway, going back to this particular thing, the storm culminated up to Thursday. Then and then Friday you got your movie Siege, and on the same day Newt Gingrich resigned. Now, we know there's no such thing as no Democratic Republican Party. We know there's no such thing as no government. We understand that those are two factions of the same Illuminati control. So Newt Gingrich did not resign based on a whim. He just felt inadequate, and he just felt to the point where he was betrayed, and he just got mad and resigned. It don't happen that way. Newt Gingrich worked to the point where he was supposed to leave, and the government gave him, told him that he can disappear, or whatever the deal is. His time ran out based on this systematic thing that they have. You see, so anybody stupid enough to believe that the government is this random thing that's happening, that's just happening, and he can spontaneously just decide to quit, that's some bullshit. We know that this is all a part of an elaborate ritual because the Siege movie came out, the executive order was signed, as well as him quitting the same time before John Glenn got out the fucking air. Now, the John Glenn shit that went on, well, John Glenn was the first American to go up in space, and what they're doing an elaborate ritual where they're trying to complete a cycle and fool the actual cycle. And I'll tell you what all this shit is getting ready to deal with. It's dealing with the 418 energy or the 718 energy. You see what I'm saying? Or the 718 energy. Now, dealing with this particular stuff that we're dealing with at this particular time, what's happening? Well, this particular book, Trevor Ravenscroft's book, The Mark of the Beast, which we're going to get into in an elaborate 2 weeks from now. In here, this particular book is actually dealing with what is so-called the Sphere of Destiny, which breaks down to the Kundalini energy that was accessed by. They were saying that also the third interval of this so-called Leviathan energy, Antichrist 666 energy, will come into effect. The third interval of 666 is 1998. Plus, even if you take the 1 and the 8 and add them up, it comes 999, and 999 is 666. So to get a greater understanding of what is actually going on at this particular time, you need to look at the particular part in the book. There's a part in the book called I think it's chapter, let me get the chapter number for you. I want you to read the whole book. But that particular part, if you want to understand that third interval of the 666, I think it's somewhere in his prophesied future, starting from 203 all the way to the end of the book. So, but you have to read the beginning of the book to understand what's actually going on. But anyway, this so-called Leviathan energy is supposed to possess the actual earth. They said will culminate during the time in late 1998. Now that's what Trevor Ravenscroft did. Wrote his book, Mark of the Beast, also with the guy Wallace Murphy. But Trevor Ravenscroft died in 1979, and the book was released in 1990. But it's interesting because the book was out of print, I think, since 1994, and they literally recently put a new cover on it, and they released it in late of 1997. You see, very key that you understand that at this particular time, what's actually going on, because it's all an elaborate ritual. When John Glenn and all them do this kind of shit, it's a ritual going on. Plus, we know the movie that was put out in the spring of the year. This movie, Deep Impact, was put out in the spring of the year. That particular movie talks about a comet coming down, something left over from the beginning of the earth, before the universe was formed. It's going to hit the earth, and they had to take your boy, what's your boy name that played in the thing? Robert Duvall played an old retired spacecraft man, or what you call astronaut or whatever, and they put him back on board with some younger astronauts and took him back out there and sacrificed him on the comet thing, but they had the black boy like Osiris on the whole shit. Your boy Blair Underwood. But so my point is, everything is already preordained. Everything is already written out like a script. They knew that they was going to do this particular thing. They've been talking about it for years, but this whole thing was based on a ritual, and they put out the movie with Robert Duvall playing John Glenn in Deep Impact. What? That was in April or May or whatever, a couple of months before the actual thing actually happened. So what's actually going on? What is this Leviathan energy? First of all, we're going to dedicate this lecture in a series of lectures for the until the year is out. We're going to dedicate this lecture to a brother by the name of Terrence Johnson. Terrence Johnson, which is the brother. This is the brother Terrence Johnson. Now this brother, when he was 15 years old, some cops grabbed him off the street over some bullshit, and he was actually innocent, didn't do anything, but they took him down to the jailhouse anyway and was going to beat his ass. So it got a little overheated, and they decided they was going to kill the brother, so the brother actually got a hold to their gun. They got a picture of him right here in the back of the police car. This is him when he was younger. Can you see that? Do I need to get...
Okay.
And he got a hold to the gun, and this is him in the police car crying. 15, and he killed both these. You see, back in Maryland somewhere, back in 1978. He was only 15 then. And so this brother went to jail, because they made an example out of him. This brother went to jail from 1978 to 1994, 95, because I think he basically got out in 95. But most of it, he was freed in 94, but I think he was released. I think he was released from prison, I think, in 1995. But anyway, the brother did 15 years. February 1st, let's see. Free from after 16 years in prison. Terrence Johnson is actually, he leaves the Maryland, the Maryland's Jessup Correctional Facilities in the morning of February 1st, 1995. Now, this is why this is so tragic. Yeah, we got a lot of brothers that go to jail. And I can understand that. But my point is why this is so tragic. While the brother was up in there, the brother got, he got his degree from Morgan State University, as well as he was working on a law degree. But what is so tragic about this particular brother is, this brother went to jail when he was 15, and this brother, when he got out, he was 34. And can you imagine? When I was 15, America, when I was 15 was like, let's see, he was 15 in 1978. I was like 15, I turned 15 late 1976, so I'm about 2 years older than this brother, because I'm 36 and this brother was 34. Now, and let's just look at the psychological aspect of what's going on, why this is a tragedy. Most people that's going to jail now going to jail at a certain age. Especially most of the people, you know, you either go to the jail when you're an adult, but still you're going to jail in a certain era where there's crime and all this shit that was actually manufactured by the government. My point is, if I try to look back to 1976 when I was 15, and by me having the type of mentality or the type of energy that I can actually see into the past, 1976 compared to 1995 or 1998 is so alien. Can you understand what I'm saying? The fashion was different, the music was different, the country was different, everything was different. So imagine leaving one time and missing all of that, locked up in a cage for 16 years, and at the end of the 16 years, you get out and you come to a totally alien society, and then the society you step into is fucked up when it comes to black people. And not only that, he even admitted that he saw no difference in the society that he just came from, which was the jail thing, and in the prison, and no difference in that one, and in the society that he was released in. And I'm quite sure this was not only was an alien from the 1970s, like this guy, because all of his formative years, he basically spent in prison. And so this brother literally took himself out. Killed himself. You see what I'm saying? Which is good, because I think it's the greatest way to do this, other than because it was started on a law shit. But the way I feel is this type of thing, this is some bullshit about changing the system from within. All niggas got swept in. Some of the same niggas is cracking people over the heads, you see what I'm saying, as law enforcement right now got on this and they're going to change the system from within. But America eats its young. America eats everybody. So my point here is, he did the right thing for taking himself out. This is a divine thing if you understand the esoteric purpose and this whole thing about you killing yourself, you're doing the wrong thing and you going to hell and all that bullshit, because that's all Christianity bullshit. You understand the real deal science on this thing. Now, I know that's a drastic measurement, but my point is, other than to go into the law enforcement and become a fixture of the same people who would do this to a damn human being, he did the right damn thing. But my point is, now this particular brother is acting as an entity or an avatar, a spiritual avatar that oversees some shit, and it's the same damn forces that he is now embodied as a cosmic being that's going to end up killing this guy. Talk the dumb shit. Now, this came out in the October issue of GQ magazine, and his spirit literally walked me into the store to buy the magazine, and I bought the magazine, and don't know why I was buying it, and got on the plane in the Newark airport, and got on the plane, and we read the actual story, me and my mate. So, but if for the people that don't need this, we always, because I got a copy, we always can get some of these floating around the street, because Xerox is only 5 cents. Or 7 cents, whatever the deal is. So, because we got a copy, that means we have it now, even if the copy is out of print. We still have it, and that's the key on this particular thing. But we dedicate most of the lectures to him at this particular time. Now, going right along, I'm going to tie all this shit up in a few minutes. But, since his brother got me to talking, I got to burn this little bit of energy off, or it won't be right. The other thing is this. This was September the 20th of 1997. In the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, you have your boy here, Imam Esau. Now, one thing, first of all, this is a great-ass picture. I mean, this is dynamite looking. You see a black man dressed up as Osiris and all those feathers and all that kind of stuff. In 1998 is a great thing. That's one thing, just the image of great images in the world. But my other point is, another thing to know, he got all them people out there following him, but you got to realize this. These particular people that follow him, the majority of them, they're going to follow somebody. I would much rather see them following him than a damn Creflo Dollar. I'd much rather see them, because you're getting half the damn truth, if not all the truth. And if you look hard enough, you can find all the truth in the material, because he uses the ancient stuff to explain whatever his goals and objectives. My point is, it's still all good. Now, another thing is we need to understand this particular part. But we understand Cox Entertainment also, which ones they got about 15 newspapers around the country. They own the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, which is their biggest paper. That's like headquarters. But then again, on the other hand, they own Reicher Entertainment, which is doing all these movies and stuff. Now, Cox is also instrumental in making sure, based on your boy Automatic's information, that so we know that this is one of the most racist papers in American history. Right there. I don't care how cool they are and stuff, you gotta realize, you see what I'm saying? But for the mere fact that they're using him in the paper and would put this color picture to drive a point home, it means in actuality that since Farrakhan is dead, and although he's doing something separate from them as far as Imam Esau, since Farrakhan is basically no longer on the scene, has become a Christian preacher in so many words, they need another person as the whipping. So they couldn't do it with the Afrocentric thing, because too much scholarship going. So they're going to do it with him, because the problem with Imam Esau is, no matter how good he's doing, he never documents where he gets his information, because he wants you to think that he is the one that invented this knowledge, and he is not. You know the whole story, how he took all of Zachariah Sitchin's books and literally plagiarized the stuff and all that whole 9 yards, and built a basis on his. That was his introduction into the metaphysical thing at the particular time. Now he's dealing with he's into everything now. So if black people start worshiping Mickey Mouse, he'll have his version of Mickey Mouse. But my point is, but it's still good. Now he's filtering stuff down to people who normally wouldn't get none of this. I'm not attacking him on that particular level, but I'm trying to tell you, you got to understand the government's bigger problem on this shit. We might not be funny about this mess, because we don't document anything, and he's looking like telling them basically in so many words that he's trying to set himself up for their followership as the Messiah. He is vulnerable for them to use him as the next Jim Jones. And based on government, now look at this, based on government infiltration, and what we have seen is going on the most insidious and terrible things on the earth, don't be surprised if you see a whole bunch of niggas with goddamn Kool-Aid cups laid out across the goddamn grass right there at damn Eatonton. And don't say it can't be done. Don't say it can't be done. Because I know myself. Now, I know based on me. I know based on me a list of things that the overseers, which is Azazel, that you call Satan, Awas, and other people told me certain things I wasn't supposed to do, and I did those things just to survive. Now my energy is too strong, I can do what the hell I want to do. But my point, in my vulnerable state, they told me not to, and don't be on that TV set, and don't doggone get in that newspaper. Not as if these people didn't approach me before. I've had several offers from Yale, Harvard, and all of these particular places. But the government told me not, but excuse me, not the government. Azazel are what we call the Chthonic forces, the forces of darkness, if you get my drift for the people on the 418 frequency. The forces of darkness, the dark side, told me not to doggone permeate into the white. So for the mere fact that they're doing this particular stuff, don't you be fooled by this shit to think the shit is so damn divine. You understand what I'm saying? And don't think that the damn Kool-Aid cups can't happen to fucking eating to. If you know what I'm talking about, the people out here that know anything of history and know anything about the whole Jim Jones shit. You see what I'm saying? And this shit can all be set up this particular way because the simple fact that the government is already doing this with color pictures, so it'll be to the point where I told you so. Very key that you understand that at this particular time, on what's going on at this particular time. Going right along, here's some new information put out by Steve Coakley on the Boule. But as you know, in this particular stuff here, we also got your boy as a Boule member also, Ron Brown. Then you see his throat get cut, or he gets taken out, or whatever the deal is, holding his fucking head. You understand what I'm saying? And then the next Boule man that gets closer to them, or nearness to the king, the advisor of the king, becomes the chief Boule man now, is Vernon Jordan, who is also on this damn list. You see what I'm saying? Who is also on this particular list. You see? But it's very key that you understand this. Now, the whole siege thing is basically a carbon copy. I saw the movie yesterday. It's basically a carbon copy of the King Alfred plan. For those particular people out there that's on the frequency 418 that have had a greater opportunity to understand the actual King Alfred plan, or actually know what this thing is, even if you haven't read it, if you just basically know that they're just going to lock black people down. For those people that has been made privy to this particular document, please understand, when you go see the movie, it is a carbon copy of the King Alfred plan. They just use the Arab boy. But then again, on the other hand, I told you, yeah, all based on the incident, one of the brothers, or one of the Arabs that was working on terrorism for the government, they came in and locked down his son, and all this, just like they said they would do with all people, even police officers, servicemen, executives, and everybody, including doggone your black senators, and all of them will be behind the damn barbed wire fence. And they showed an aspect of this in the actual movie. They just used Denzel as the top head honcho of the FBI on that Hoover shit to throw motherfuckers off, and you don't know it's the black thing that's actually going on. You see what I'm saying? Now that's one aspect of it, but it is the King Alfred plan. But then again, on the other hand, let's not be fooled. The King Alfred plan has been in effect for the last 10 fucking years. And in so many words, when they take your rights from you, you see what I'm saying? And they take a whole list of your rights from you, so basically you are a slave. And the alternative from breaking these, basically standing up for your rights is jail. You see what I'm saying? Then therefore you've already had that done. And they did it through making people fearful of crime. And so you passed all these damn laws against crime, and each law that you pass is a law against your own basic freedom. You must understand that at this particular time. So what's actually going on this 418 shit? Let me go into the history of 418 first. How much time we got, first of all? Tell me how much time you got, and then we'll go into this history of the 418, and we can see some things.
About a little less than an hour.
A little less than an hour, okay, good. Let me go into the history of the 418, that way we can document that particular part, and so you can understand some things. In 1904, a pre-human intelligence known as Awas, who is Horus, or Heru, which is the Egyptian Christ, came and gave a rare book called the Book of Law. It's not rare, but rare as far as this mysterious grimoire called the Book of the Law, which is also mentioned in 2 Kings, I believe, about the book of the law. I think it's in 2 Kings, right in the doggone King James Version. And gave him a particular mysterious book, which is the third section, which is the appendix section of the last section of the Book of the Dead, of the only authentic grimoire of the 20th century, of modern grimoire, or modern ancient mystical text that was given in 1904 to Aleister Crowley, who later on was vilified for the son. Well, he left himself open for the shit. But anyway, there was two bibliographies written on him. One of the bibliographies that was written on him was two of them, I think, was four in all. Two that was pleasant, that told the life of this magician. The other two made him the most evil man in America. That was the government stuff. This particular book here, Portable Darkness, I have the cover, I have the book over here on the wall, explains that particular stuff also too, might I add. How they set it all up that way. Did you get a picture of it? Portable Darkness and all. The forward is done by Robert Anton Wilson, but it's edited by Robert Scott Mitchelson.
Oh, that's right.
Portable Darkness came out in 1975. It might be out of print now, though. I don't know. A lot of times, you know, all the good shit is always ends up out of print. But anyway, the key is this mysterious book came down, but one of the keys to the book was the number. One was 93, which I was able to meet this pretty human intelligence, AWAS, at the Sphinx Metaphysical Bookstore on October 16th in 1993. 2 years later, on October 16th, they had the Million Man March. But I was able to meet him the same day, October 16th of 1993, and that same day the Empress Vertice came to town and explained her whole thing with the whole Louisiana Purchase and the whole 9 yards about her land and all that. But my point is, and I've been in contact with him ever since that particular time. Anyway, in alchemy, which is the science of Christ, basically. Number one is the science of Christ, and also the alchemy that comes out of Egypt, Alchem. Al, which means sun, S-U-N or S-O-N, and it also means God. And Chem, which means black. It means the black son of the black god, Alchemy. Also, it means the land Egypt or Kemet, Cam. So alchemy, you get where chemistry comes from, all of this particular information too. Alchemy is also the science of becoming God, as well as the science of melanin. But the breakdown of alchemy, in the breakdown of alchemy, the main key to alchemy is called the combination or the supreme pinnacle or the supreme elixir or formula of alchemy is called the great work. Now the great work is this primarily an alchemical term, and it denotes the bringing of a substance or energy to the fullest and possible degree of perfection. And so-called transmutation of base metals into gold is this typical example. In Crowley's cult, the great work entails a union of the 5 and the 6, man and God, woman and man, beast and angel, etc. All cosmic energy culminating into one on earth, might I add. Thus enabling humanity to attain cosmic consciousness. The 5 and the 6, the pentagram, the hexagram together from the 11-fold star of AA, which is Sirius. Now in Crowley's, AA, which is Sirius, also in the Golden Dawn ceremonies, the candidate, once he gets to the great work, he has the realization of the knowledge of the common conversation of his guardian angel. So they call the knowledge of the conversation of your guardian angel. Holy guardian angel is talking about getting to your higher self. And the great work is the completion of that work. But the great works Kabbalistic breakdown of what we call the great works is the number 418. So that 418 which is the Kabbalistic breakdown of the particular great works, of the particular great works, is talking about this ultimate Christ energy, or the ultimate Christ elixir. In Kabbalah, it's called the Tikkun elixir, the completion. In Egypt, it's called the Mayatian elixir, which is also the completion that is actually dealing with it this particular time. Now, so we're talking about 418 days before the year 2000, and this particular 418, which in actuality is the number of melanin. And by us melanated people having melanin, which is the word that comes from 1959 from Yale University, from a older work that comes out of the tradition of alchemy called melanosis. Melanosis is the tradition of alchemy, and from that particular melanosis comes melanin in 1959 with Yale University. With Yale University. And melanosis means the negrito, blackening stage, or the prima materia, or prime material, which is the blackening stage. So we are still talking about the cosmic breakdown of alchemy, or the cosmic, or what you would call the numerical breakdown of melanin. The numerical breakdown of melanin. Now, this is the 418. Now, we also know that melanin is also the form of chaos. And chaos just simply means dark matter, triple blackness of space, and the most concentrated form of dark matter, which leads us to this, which we'll go into greatly next week, the next 2 weeks.